Law number 16. The law of the Big Mo. The law of the Big Mo says that momentum is a leader's best friend. Now, the law of the Big Mo is a cousin to the law of victory. Can I tell you something? You can't have the law of victory without having the Big Mo. And if you have some victory, you'll have some momentum. Momentum is a leader's best friend. So let me talk to you about momentum for a few minutes. Many times, the only difference between winning and losing is momentum. In other words, it's not talent. It's not giftedness. It's not ability. It's not skill. Many times, the only difference between winning and losing is momentum. So let's talk about it for a moment. Momentum is what I call the great exaggerator. In other words, momentum has the ability to exaggerate much more than what really is, what seems to be. So let me give you a couple of things to fill in the blank, and then let me talk to you about this. Here's the way this works. Momentum makes leaders look better than they are. When you've got momentum, it makes you as a leader look better than you are. In fact, that's why leaders love momentum. When the momentum is going for you, here's the way this works. If you're the pastor of the church, okay, and you've got good momentum, you got the Big Mo going for you. The old law of the Big Mo's kicking in. If you're the pastor of the church, when you go to the pulpit on Sunday, if you've got momentum really going for you, and you look at your congregation and say, I want you to turn to the book of Genesis. Your people are sitting there and they're going, great preacher. What an awesome man of God. Now, are you that good? All you got to do is go ask the wife and the kids. But you see, you got the Big Mo going for you. And when you've got the Big Mo going for you, people think you're better than you are. Now, let me just ask a question. How many of you probably could stand to have the Big Mo going for you in your organization, huh? Or, hey, in your family, huh? Forget the organization. I'd like to have the Big Mo going in my family. Now, when you've got the Big Mo going for you, people think you're better. And the reason they think that you're better than you are is because that's what momentum does. Momentum exaggerates. Momentum, when it's good, make things look better and bigger than they really are. Now, also I want you to note that momentum makes followers perform better than they are. In other words, not only does the momentum allow you as the leader to look better and people to see you in a better light, but momentum allows followers to perform on a higher level. Here's the way I explain this. When you have the momentum going for you, an average athlete becomes a superior athlete. Have you ever heard the expression, they are playing above their heads? Do you know what playing above their heads means? It means that they're doing better than what they should be doing. They're not that good. We all know they're not that good. Well, what's happened? They've got momentum going for them. And once you've got momentum going for you, you can play. See, and what do you want? What do you want to do for your people? You want to so get momentum going in your organization that your people play above their heads. I've always tried to do that. I've had a lot of staff be with me, and I've had a lot of staff go on to other ministries, always with my blessing. But I can tell you, I've seen a lot of staff that were around me that when they left the environment I created and the atmosphere I created, this winning atmosphere in my organization, I've watched a lot of staff go to the next place, assuming they'd be able to perform on the same level. Only 2 or 3 years later to say, hey, John, it's not the same. Well, it's not the same because you're not in that winning environment now. You're not in that environment that creates high morale and momentum for you that allows you to win a lot quicker and a lot easier. Now, just as a momentum will make a leader look better than he or she is and will allow a follower to perform higher than what they normally can perform, it's also the opposite is true. When you lack momentum, you have no momentum, it makes a leader look worse than they are, and it makes followers perform worse than they are. So let's talk about it. In other words, when you have momentum, the great exaggerator is positive. When you lack momentum, the great exaggerator now has become negative. When you have momentum, they say, boy, great pastor, great leader, great businessman. When you lack momentum, they say, what happened to him? Here's the power of momentum. A train going down a railroad track at 55 miles an hour can smash through a 5-foot concrete wall that is steel reinforced. In other words, that train can hit that wall, smash through it, and keep on going. I don't know, the engineer looks at his buddy and says, did we hit something back there? Boom, they hit it and they just keep on moving. Why? Because they have the big mo. That's what momentum will do for you. Now that same train stopped dead on its tracks without momentum at all. You can take a 1-inch block and put it in front of the driving wheels, and that same train can't get started. Get the picture. With momentum, a 5-foot thick concrete wall, steel reinforced, can't stop the train. Without momentum, a 1-inch block can keep it from going. That's why I teach leaders all the time when they think that problems are hurting them, or they'll say, well, I've got problems in my organization, and well, I had to quit because of the problems in the company. Can I tell you something? That's not your problem. Your problem is you don't understand that you think your problem is the problem when the problem isn't the problem at all. In fact, here's the way it works. You think the problem's the problem. So a problem that wasn't the problem has now become the problem, not because it was the problem, but because you thought the problem was a problem. You have made a problem that wasn't a problem, and now you have a problem that you wouldn't have had, but you didn't understand problems, so you thought the problem that wasn't a problem is a problem, so now the problem that wasn't a problem has become a problem, not because it was a problem, but because you thought the problem was a problem, you made the problem a problem, and now you have a big problem. Some melancholic on the front row saying, John, could you repeat that one more time for me? I missed that one section there. Could you back up just for, not if my life depended on it. But here's what I want you to see. You see, your problem isn't really your problem. Your problem is you lack momentum. Because if you had momentum in your organization, if you were clicking and high morale was in place, when you found that problem, you'd smash it and keep on going. You see, here's the way this works. With momentum, that train can knock out of the way a 5-foot concrete wall, steel reinforced problem. It can't stop it. But without momentum, a 1-inch problem can keep the organization from going anywhere. Wow. You see, leaders aren't problem solvers. That's what managers are. Leaders are momentum makers. And there's a world of difference. Managers try to solve problems. Leaders build momentum. And there's a world of difference between those two. So let's talk about it. Leaders are like thermostats. They control the temperature. And followers are like thermometers. They record the temperature. One of the great things about being a leader is you know how to create momentum and build morale. And if you can create momentum and if you can build morale, you can take this organization to a whole new level. So let's talk about how do you move the big mo? Because this is key. How do we move the ball? How do we get momentum going? Number one, understand its value. Very simply said, understand the value of momentum. Now, I think by now you understand it because I've already explained to you that if you've got momentum, you knock the problems down. If you don't have momentum, a little 1-inch problem can keep you from going. I think we begin to understand that. But think again of a sports analogy for a moment. If the other team is marching down the field, or if the other team is scoring baskets at a rapid succession rate, what does the coach on the team that is having the momentum against him do? The first thing a coach does is he stands up when the momentum tide goes to the other team, and the coach goes, timeout, timeout. Now, why did he call timeout? Because he wanted to have fellowship with the team? Why did he call timeout? Because he wanted to have a little kumbaya-sation? No. The reason he called timeout was he's doing everything in his power to stop the momentum of the other team. Because he knows if he allows that momentum to continue, that other team, although not better, could win the game. See, just as the coach who has momentum wants to keep the game going, the coach that doesn't have momentum wants to stop the game, because that coach understands, both of them in fact, understand the value of momentum. So you got to understand, it is your best friend. Let me explain to you another way, just so you got it. In fact, I did an Enjoy Life Club tape several years ago called Momentum, the best friend a leader ever had. And let me tell you, momentum is worth 2 staff members for you. You got the picture? In fact, if you got rid of 2 staff members, maybe you'd get momentum. I don't know. But once you get momentum going, it's huge. You got to understand its value. Now, number 2, figure out what the motivating factors are in your organization. Very good thought. Figure out what the motivating factors are within your organization. Here's why. Whatever the motivating factors are in your organization, those are the buttons you need to push to get momentum going. Now, I can't tell you what yours are. I know what mine are. In the Enjoy group, I know exactly what it is. In the organization that I lead, if I just sit down with my team and say things such as, we're going to make a difference, as soon as you tell my team they're going to make a difference for God, man, they're perking up. They're saying, okay, how are we going to do this? How are we going to do this? If I say we're going to add value to pastors and churches, and we're going to add value to leaders, I mean, what moves them, what motivates them, the reason they moved from San Diego, California to Atlanta, Georgia, was they really wanted to have a life of significance. Significance is the motivational tool that I have for my team. I say, who wants to be successful when you can be significant? Who wants to live for this life when you can live for one that has eternity? And this turns their crank. Now, this doesn't turn everybody's crank. This may not be the thing that you use in your church, but you got to know what the momentum button is. Because when you know what the momentum factors are, those are the factors you call on. Those are the values you speak of. Those are the things that you put up for all of your team to see. So you got to know what it is that motivates them. And one of the greatest ways to find that out is to ask one of 3 questions. This is in your notes, but you need to have it. Question number 1, what do you cry about? If you ask a person, what hurts you? What do you cry about? What is it that when you think of it, you just break out in tears? What do you cry about? That's a question. That's a question that'll help you understand the motives and the motivation and the momentum and the morale that you need to develop. What do you cry about? Question number 2, what do you sing about? In other words, not only what makes you sad, what makes you happy? What brings you great joy? What is it that when you just think about it, all of a sudden you say, oh yes, this is great. So what do you cry about? What do you sing about? And number 3, what do you dream about? If you could ever be anything you ever wanted to be, and if you could ever do anything you ever wanted to do, what would you be and what would you do? When you ask those 3 questions, that's going to help figure out what I call the motivating factors in your organization. Here's what I know. I could sit down with you for lunch today, and in 1 hour, I could find out what motivates you. 1 hour. And I would start with these 3 questions. What you have to do is understand what the motives are of all your people and how to motivate them. And for some it's different. But you need to have an overall kind of a sense of how to get momentum going. And when I look at the Enjoy group and I say, look, in 1999 or in the year 2000 or this year, we're going to make a difference in lives and churches and leaders. Or this year, we're going to add value to them. Immediately, they're on board. That's what creates the momentum. You've got to know that, because what motivates the people is what creates the momentum in the people. Number 3, you need to remove the demotivating factors in your organization. In other words, you got to look around and say, okay, what's demotivating us? And once you find them, you got to say, we got to cut them out. For example, now this won't be maybe yours, but in the Enjoy group, again, I just know my group. I don't know your group, but if I was around your group very long, I could figure yours out too. There are several demotivating factors, but one of the top demotivating factors in our Enjoy group is the fact that anytime somebody wants to make a process long and complicated, it's very demotivating. I'm very simple. I'm very bottom line. I do not want to wait on 30 committee reports, 17 prayer meetings, 4 search committees, and 11 surveys. Thank you very much. So it's very demotivating. So you know what? We don't have a lot of bureaucracy in the Enjoy group. We don't have a lot of people who like to just kind of wait for a while and ponder and fumble and mumble and moan and groan and go to the desert and see if they can find a sign or whatever. Those kind of people aren't on our team. We're more activistic. We're more high energy. We're more, let's get it done. I mean, come on, folks. How long do you want to hold that sucker before you do something with it? And if you aren't going to do something with it, how about giving us the ball? We'd like to run with it a while ourselves. It's a demotivating factor. So what do? You remove demotivating people. If you've got people, don't you know, how many of you know at least one demotivating person in your life, huh? How many of you know people that every time you bring how many of you know people that can find a problem in every solution? You know what I'm saying? And I mean, you just throw it out. You throw out a good idea, they have the ability within 60 seconds to kill a good idea. It is their spiritual gift. And they practice it often. You go into a meeting with high hopes and you come out with razor blades slitting your wrist. You know what I'm talking about, huh? Well, you got to remove those demotivating people. You got to remove that demotivating bureaucracies. You got to remove that stuff that's hindering you. You got to keep the ball rolling. In fact, this is very key. Let me tell you something. It's better and easier to keep the ball rolling in a positive momentum than it is to start the ball rolling if there's no momentum at all. It takes a lot more energy to start it than it does to continue it. And it takes a lot more energy if the motivation and the momentum is negative, and you got to stop the ball from rolling the wrong way. You got to run out there in front of it, you got to stop that ball. That takes huge energy. Then you got to start, which takes huge energy. This will wear you out. So once you get the momentum going, you protect that momentum. You defend that momentum. You make sure you get official people that just push the ball and keep it going. And you keep the wind under the wings of the people. Don't ever let the wind die down. Don't ever let the ball stop. Find out those demotivating areas. Number 4, schedule times for direction and celebration. Schedule times that when you have a victory, celebrate. I mean, celebrate. Now parties happen to be one of my spiritual gifts. You just have to understand. I don't understand people that don't have fun. I never have understood people that don't have fun. The only thing I've understood is if people don't have fun, I don't want to be around them. So, if you're one of these kind of, moody kind of, I don't know if I'm going to have fun today. I don't care. You can go over in the corner and pout till Jesus comes. I don't suck your thumb. Do you think I care? But I'm not going to come over here and burp you while you suck your thumb. I'm going to have some fun. And we're going to celebrate. And I want to celebrate. I love to work hard. I love to get a victory under the belt. When I'm done with the victory under the belt, I want to go celebrate. Every time we're out doing these leadership conferences, our team works so hard. They spend thousands of man hours planning a conference like this, and hundreds of man hours coming here and getting resources ready and getting the room ready and all the logistics and everything else. And all I do is I walk up here, have my stool, have my notes, have my drink, and away I go. I start teaching. That's all I do. When I'm done today, I'll go back, grab a plane, I'm out of here. They'll close the old door. Now, I'll tell you, they work hard. They really, they really are committed. Now, what do? When we have these 2-day conferences, the first night on the first day of a leadership conference, when we were done last night, we had to shoot some camera work for a while. And when we were done, man, I took my team, we went to a good restaurant, and we sat down, and we laughed, and we had fun, and we ate good food. And we talked for about 2 hours about the day and how God blessed us and things that happened that were good. And we told each other stories. And you know what we did? We celebrated just the team. We celebrated. You know, Christians need to learn how to celebrate more. And I don't know whether it's the fact that we just think we got to carry the cross. Well, must Jesus bear the cross alone. I'll tell you, I've seen enough sad sacks trying to help him. I can tell you right now. And I'm not, no, and don't think, well, the guy's not believing in discipleship. I believe in discipleship all the way, but I want to tell you what I want. I want to see a happy disciple. I don't want you to tell me how hard it is to carry the cross. If you're going to do that, groan and complain, I want to put you on the cross. Enjoy when somebody's fasting, I hate it when somebody says, well, I've been fasting. I love these 40-day fast people. Well, I've been on a 40-day fast. Well, why don't you shut up? Just smile, enjoy life, act like you're in a party, and fast for 40 days. There's nothing wrong with fasting. It's when you try to tell everybody you're doing it. Go out and celebrate, enjoy life, have a party. This is especially true. Get that momentum going, celebrate those victories. Number 5, recognize and honor people who move the ball forward. This is key. What I mean is very simple. Recognize and honor those people. If somebody's helping you get a win, get them up in front of people and say, look, this person's doing it. This person's doing the job. This person's helping us bring the victory home. This is really key. This is important. And number 6, practice character leadership. And character leadership is this. Character leadership by the leader is this. I'm going to do right whether I feel good or not. If I do right, I will feel good later. See, there are 2 kinds of people. There are winners who says, I'm going to do what is right, and then I'll feel good, and there are whiners. These are people who say, I want to feel good before I do what is right. And there's a world of difference between those 2. And if you and I are the leader in developing morale, high morale and momentum, it is essential that we always start the ball going. Let's put it this way. When you go to church on Sunday and you're the first one in the auditorium, there's probably not much momentum going. So you can either do one of 2 things. You can either say, well, I hope I get a good crowd so I feel like speaking. Or you say, I want to speak good so I can get a big crowd. And there's a world of difference between the 2. It's not what happens to me, it's what happens in me that counts. And people that understand momentum builders, fire lighters, banner lifters, these are people that operate out of character. They don't wait for the crowd to get excited before they do it. They do it because they believe in the mission, they believe in the passion, and because they do it, because they operate out of a character base, that's how they create the momentum, and that's how they create morale. Does that make sense? And by the way, let me just say one more thing for you, and then we'll do the questions. If I look back on my last pastorate in San Diego, California, between 1989 and 1990, especially 3, there were about 4 years where we were trying to get land zoned and we were trying to raise money, of which we were not sure we were going to even be able to build on the land that we were raising money for. And I had to raise millions of dollars in that process. I had to raise millions of dollars, and we were in 4 services on Sunday morning, and they were full, and we didn't have any more room, and we were having to park 600 cars off the parking lot, and it was a nightmare because my services could only last an hour and 5 minutes because the parking lot got jammed, and we'd get letters every week with people saying, I went around the parking lot 7 times, couldn't find a parking place, I left. And we just had this, and for 4 years, I'm hoping to be able to build on the land that we bought, and we're paying for the land and raise the money, but it's not even zoned because some black-tailed gnatcatcher's on it. And in this whole process for all these years, can I tell you something? I had to keep hope high. I had to keep letting the people know that there's going to be a day when we're going to get there. I had to constantly, and I've always looked back and I've always said, if you would look at the statistics, those would not be my greatest 4 years of leadership, because during those 4 years there was a little bit of wandering in the wilderness, and will we ever get there, and what do you think, and where's the water, and it's not sweet, and has anybody got a rod to break the rock? And I mean, it was all this says. But as I've looked back on my ministry and leadership, the best 4 years of my leadership were in that period. Because here's what I know about leadership. When you've got momentum, it's real easy to lead. In fact, when you've got momentum, all you got to do is find out where the crowd is and get out in front, and they'll call you the leader. They'll kind of push you along and say, boy, this isn't bad at all. I'm just leading this group. But when the morale isn't high and the momentum isn't there and the problems are around you and all the difficulties, it takes a great leader to get in the pulpit and smile. It takes a great leader to speak on faith, and it's going to happen, and provide hope. Anybody can provide hope when they've just scored the winning touchdown, but when you got 99 yards to go. And what God wants are leaders that can operate out of a character base when they don't even feel like it, and keep the momentum going and push the ball so that people have a chance to win. Does that make sense? Questions to ask yourself. What are the motivating factors of my organization? What are the demotivating factors of my organization? What am I doing to increase the motivating factors, and what am I doing to decrease the demotivating factors? This is huge. Evaluate yourself. A couple of resources. One on momentum, the best leader a friend ever had, and the other one is on how to regain momentum. It's a case study of a church that had difficulties and how they stopped the negative and then turned it around and regained their momentum.
John C. Maxwell is one of America's most popular teachers of leadership and management. And through the innovative techniques and powerful skills described in his best-selling book, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, John can help you be a better leader in virtually any situation. The Nelson Word Multimedia Group brings you this powerful seminar series captured live on video and in a comprehensive audio cassette format. Either could easily be the most effective teaching system you will ever use. You'll learn effective mentoring, training techniques, and specific applications to help you achieve greater success in any profession, whether you're a teacher, business person, lay person, or a pastor. The video series puts you in a front row seat for John's dynamic live presentation, and the audio series guides you through a personal study course taught by John himself. It's supported by a student manual, a reference book, and an accompanying orientation video, giving you a year-long comprehensive learning experience. Your library will not be complete without both the video and audio programs. And watch for additional products based on John Maxwell's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership.